it's starting to become a pattern that I have ideas for episodes and then I go into the interview and then completely change my mind. And I have been really fixated on doing an episode about why straight men and gay men are fascinated with the housewives. And I had all these ideas. I had a running list of all the people I wanted to interview. One being Ryan Bailey from So Bad It's Good, which is his very successful podcast that he started in the pandemic. I have interviewed him in the past. I haven't been on his show yet, but he is promising that I get to go on his show. And I wanted to talk to him because he is a straight cis man who loves Bravo, and he's so knowledgeable and so invested, and his show is great. He's a wonderful, wonderful podcasting voice. He's funny. He's vulnerable. I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk to him, and then I'm going to talk to these other people, and I'm going to do kind of like my first episode, why is tennis not as gay as I believe it to be? I kind of had this idea, like, I'm going to do this episode where I talk to all these men, and I'm going to figure out why they love Bravo. And here's the thing about Ryan is he could fucking talk for 100 hours. Like, he and I talked for an hour and 10 minutes, and candidly, like, there's nothing else to talk about. I think I'm going to keep going with this series. I sort of love the perspective of straight and gay men and why they like the housewives. I'm not done. I'm going to do more. Same with tennis. I've reached out to those gay tennis players. I have not heard back. So hopefully one day they'll come back to me. But I love Ryan. Ryan is so vulnerable. He's obsessed with my friend Leah, which is funny. And I think he really understands her and sees her for who she is, which I love. But Ryan, he answers me, he answers my questions about why he loves Bravo better than I thought, actually. First of all, what is on your shirt?
Just to celebrate your friend that I feel so guilty about that. Like I persisted and I think I got too cocky and I just like, come on, I know I'm not one of the cool New York podcasts, but come on my show. And she unfollowed me and I was like, wow, that's like brutal. And I was like, that fucking
Leah's.
That was the wrong.
I'm not like that was the wrong approach.
Dude, that was never my approach, by the way. That was never my approach.
iHeartRadio.
I know, it's crazy.
Ryan, you're like famous now.
No, it's so far from that, but I'm just saying but like that Leah was the one that I was always like, I don't know her personally at all, but like I was always the one standing up for Leah on all my shows. And then I was like, come on, you're doing all these New York hipster podcasts. And I think it was like the fifth time probably asking her, even through my contacts too. And I was like, why? I even like posted about her book. I read the book. And then I was like, what? I don't know. And then she had followed me. I was like, oh man, that sucks. But listen, I appreciate it.
I didn't bring it up at dinner.
Oh, why would you? I don't think she would even. By the way, these are big moments in my life that would be small moment. Like she wouldn't probably even recall. But for me,
I didn't go to the Beastie Boys thing. I know. I didn't go to the Beastie Boys thing because I was in traffic for 3 hours and I was cranky and I was supposed to go and I didn't go. But, that it is. I got my like one-on-one dinner with Leah. That's all. I like that. That's like what we're like old friends. So that's kind of.
No, I know. That's why I mean, I totally know. And that's why it was so embarrassing when you said I'm seeing Leah. I was like, well, please do not bring me up. Like, and it's so silly to get to a point where like, I don't know any of these people. I mean, I know a couple of the Vanderpump people now personally, and I don't want to be friends with anybody. I'm not looking to like try to be a part of the, in crowd at Bravo, but I am looking to like interview them. And I found Leah extremely fascinating because of her life. And especially what was not on the show and like everything that I was like, that is extremely fascinating. So I kept pushing for that interview because I think my internet persona and my podcast are kind of sometimes two different things. And I don't know. I think I come off as, it's something that I get in my head about is being, it's like my life coach or whatever will be like, you got to push yourself. You got to make those big risks. Take the leap.
Are you in therapy? Are you in therapy as well, or just life coach? Okay, good. So you have a life coach and a therapist.
Oh, and I'm on SSRIs. I'm on.
Same.
I've dealt with my mental health for 20 years now, but still to this day, I was thinking about listening to your podcast a second ago. I was like, I don't know what comment did it, but it was like, it's just funny how we're all you talked about going through your old journals. You were talking about going through your
10 out
old
of 10
journals.
don't recommend, Ryan.
Oh, I did. See, I did that. But you remember that show Mortified that you used to have,
Yes,
that
of
live
course,
stage show where
of
you would
course.
read. So I got recommended for that because somebody was like, "Oh, you probably have really funny stuff from, with your temperament and your mentality." And I went to an audition for Mortified, and I had brought like all of these things, and it was so sad because you realize like I haven't all the stuff that I've worked on. You still realize you're basically the same person. Like my journals were all like, well, I'm going to try to do this journal again. I really don't believe in myself. And it was all these same sad thoughts that I'll still have to this day. So when the Leah thing represented a bigger thing to me than it would ever to her, because that was me taking a risk. That was me. And
oh my God, she would die if she knew this.
Oh, but I always feel like I have two left feet, so I do it. And here's the other thing. I will sometimes, and this is, I will use, like I'll drink 1 or 2 times a week, but I will drink to excess. And alcohol will make me more quote unquote confident. And that's usually when those brave messages will come out, because otherwise I can't. I like it, and this is, by the way, this is a problem, but I'm not an everyday drinker. But that was also one of those, okay, I've had a couple drinks. You know what? I'm gonna DM Leah, and I'm gonna DM the producer of Miami, and I'm gonna DM this person, and I'm gonna really, because then I believe in myself if I'm a little buzzed. And that's just warped way of thinking. And that's why another thing is like Leah has her sobriety journey. So some dude asking her to be on a podcast is wild.
Well, I just want to say thank you for sharing. I thought you really
huge pause.
You really came out the gate swinging. It's
yeah. By the way, I've never said this on my podcast.
Thank you. I needed some good material. Listen, I'm just a little fish. I'm a little fish. I'm self-producing. I have this lovely.
But Liz, how are you
editor.
A little fish? You have you have an amazing job. You have an amazing wife. Everybody knows who you are. Like I feel
nobody knows who I am.
I feel like that's you.
Listen,
I feel like you're on the bubble.
I'm trying. Please put me on your show so that I can pop bigger.
I already told you I would, but I just find it funny how we all view ourselves. I find it funny how I view you as opposed to how you view you, and how I view me as opposed to others view me. Like I find that like something so universal with all of us is the way we see ourselves is not how we accurately are. But there's no amount of therapy or drugs that can convince me otherwise, because I've lived in my own body for so long that it is like trying to reverse out of like mud and snow, and you're reversing as hard and fast as you can, and you can't get out because you're so lodged into this way of thinking. And that's really hard. But like I noticed that with everybody. I noticed that with just your comment right there. Like you are doing it.
I'm trying. Like, listen, I will and I want her to hear this because hopefully she will. But luckily I have no. I have I have the sweetest person who's like editing my show. I adore her. I like trying to get ads to pay her. Like, do you know what I mean? I totally get it. It's just so funny because I think that I get really wrapped up in like, I'm so Bravo and like then other famous adjacent, but like for some reason I cannot get verified on Instagram. My numbers on Instagram are fucking tragic. Like I can't build an audience. Like I'm out here and I'm like, am I doing it? Am I doing the thing? But then I like have such a lovely listenership that I like am friends with half of those people. You know what I mean?
But that means you start there. Right. Everything else falls into place. And like you are judging, and like we all do, you judge by numbers. Like I started this over the pandemic. I had a real job. Like we actually, we have a person in common in our own real lives, but she knows me and her husband knows me as somebody that worked at an acting school for 13 years, was trying to be an actor. So, I mean, still go on auditions, but I found my voice because of the pandemic. And it was all because of this silly stuff that I had loved my entire life. Even as a straight dude, I love this stuff. Like it wasn't like my ex-wife.
Now all my questions out of this. And so my question is,
sorry.
Yeah, no, but it's this is why I wanted you on the podcast. And I thought about you for this episode, which is like, why do men love the Housewives? Why do men love the housewives? Like, why?
Well, are you talking about straight men, gay men, all
Well,
men?
we're going to get to that. I mean, do people assume that you're gay because you like the housewives?
Yes, 1,000%. I say this all the time on my show. In fact, I get DM. I was just talking. I got I get the best, best people will interact with me. Also, some of the worst people.
Correct.
But the best people, I had one mom try to hook me up with her son. I had one over DM and or recommend a guy to me. Listen, my best friend in the whole world is a gay man that he came out to me in high school. He's like my older brother. Like, I was lucky enough to be raised around amazing gay dudes. Being told that I'm gay is a compliment. Like, and by the way, I'm not if you see the way I dress. Like, so that is but gay men
Your
to me
shirt
have
that you're
had some of
wearing
the
right now is pretty gay. This Leah shirt is fucking ridiculous.
Wow, gay slander towards me. No, I think they have
I'm
the
just
best.
saying it's gay.
I was exposed to the best music, best movies, but the best of everything because of gay people in my life. So you thinking that I'm gay is like this really amazing compliment, especially in the Bravo universe. But it's a natural assumption that straight men would have no place for this. And it goes into a bigger conversation of like, why aren't you watching sports? Why are you watching? And it's like, well, in reality, these are my sports, these housewives, these shows, these realities, these are my sports. I will get into these. I mean, I'll stand up and scream sometimes, just like I saw my dad during a football game.
I mean, Salt Lake City, the last couple has been just, these motherfuckers just, I mean, when Jen threw the shoes in
$1,500 shoes, and then she still has to. Then she still goes, Angie, I accept your. I want to say I'm sorry, and for what I did earlier about the champagne. And I'm like, what about the shoes? What about the shoe? We never even touched. Jen Shah operates on this level of Trumpian, there's like this forgetfulness with everybody around her, or it's almost like a Keith Raniere Nixium vibe where they're so taken in by the cult of Jen Shah, where they just let her get away with madness.
Listen, I'm friends with Heather. I adore her.
I'm very bummed about Heather this season. How they've edited her. I don't listen. Well, somebody also had the best interview of my life with a couple of years ago. And she said on the podcast she was going to stand by Jen. And I was like, wow. And they took that quote and they ran with it on Us Weekly, Daily Mail, all that stuff. And I felt like but she's remained true to Jen Shah.
It's really something else. So why do you think that gay men, do you have an opinion or a thought as to why gay men love the housewives so much? Why?
Well, I mean, this is purely speaking. I mean,
You're not
don't know
speaking for gay
place.
Men. You're speaking as yourself.
I think there's multiple levels. You have some of the funniest, just in terms of talking heads, you have some of the funniest, snappiest lines of dialogue, very funny, very fast paced. Gay men I find to be really funny, really fast paced, really quick. You also have, and this is where I kind of back out of the conversation, but they love the fashion. I will always totally ignore the fashion. And sometimes that's a huge part of it for women and men watching the Housewives. And I'll be like, oh yeah, they all look good. And they'll be like, no, that's tragic. That is horrible. I don't know that from Adam. Okay. I'm like, I don't know. But I think it's the mix of the fashion, a mix of the dialogue, and a mix of strong women. I think gay men are attracted to strong women. They're sometimes threatened by them as well. But mainly I think, gay men, also straight men. I love strong women, but I think that's another thing of why not? These, 6 or 7 fabulous women in 43 minutes of programming every week. Are you kidding me? And on top of it, you could argue, I mean, this is not an argument, Andy Cohen, a gay man, created this. There's only a few times in pop culture history where a new form is invented, I feel. And Housewives is a new form. He really stumbled onto something, and you could say it was based off of, oh, well, there was docuseries, Real World, Queen of Versailles, the documentary, all of these things. But he really solidified a form. And it's a form that will be joked about and talked about in pop culture for the rest of our lives. I always wonder about what Andy Warhol would think about this and the meaning of 15 minutes of fame when you throw Housewives into it. But I think that's another great thing, was that this was championed by a gay man.
What's your thought on Ultimate Girls Trip and like Legends and the spinoffs?
I think, and this might not be a popular opinion, I think it is the best thing to do to stay in the game. The 90 Day Fiancé universe on TLC, they all of a sudden steamrolled Bravo, I think a couple years ago during the pandemic, where they were giving these, not the brightest bulbs in the world GoPros and creating content out of that. And there would be 15 different shows all of a sudden in the 90-day universe. And Andy Cohen is quoted as saying, even in the book, is that he's like, well, if I feel like we cross-pollinate, we're going to have jumped the shark. And he admits now, I believe, that quote was a mistake, is that, I feel like they let people like TLC get ahead. We feel better, I think, as humans when we're all under one roof, that we share the same universe. And so there is something titillating in it to watch women team up from other franchises. And I still feel they're finding their footing, but it's getting better and better. I'm so excited for Girls Trip Season 3 with Leah. I mean, to see what the mess that is. I saw the preview at BravoCon, but I like that we're into this kind of one roof kind of thing where we are cross-pollinating things.
Like Heather going on Below Deck.
Yeah, well, see, now Below Deck, I was talking about the other day. Below Deck, I feel finally is like, yo, man, maybe there's too many Below Decks. So it's like Below Deck Adventure, Below Deck Med, Below Deck Sailing Yacht. How many Below Deck? And I love all of them, but there's only so many hours in the day. And I feel like I love Below Deck, but sometimes I'm like, it gets to be too much. I mean, you have Summer House into Winter House, and then I'm like, are we going to have Fall House and Spring House? Like, I mean, how many houses are we going to have? You gotta have
a Spring House. I never, it's interesting. Well, two things on that is one, I don't think I talked about this with you, but my friends and I many years ago were approached about going on Below Deck, but you have to pay for it. Like those people are actually chartering the boat. So we were all like a bunch of chuckleheads broke. Would we have made fantastic television? And was I like young enough and wasn't really in my career enough to have done it? 100%. That honestly, like it would have been buck fucking wild because, and I don't speak. And one of the girls that was really approached for it was the former kind of her persona was being the famous, a friend of a famous person. And I'm not going to name like names just because it all got pretty messy in the end.
Nancy Reagan.
Correct. That was it. How'd you know?
Thank you. I have like a sixth sense for these things. It's weird.
Yeah, it's so strange. But that crew, it was like me, her, my friend Sarni, like this other girl, Michelle, like we would have been amazing. But I'll never forget it. They're like, okay, so we're going to give you a discount. So it'd only be $50,000 for the week is what it ended up being. And I'm like, and that includes your flight. But I literally looked at my friend. I was like, damn, that's like $10,000 each of us or whatever it was. And we were trying to
potentially look like an idiot on television, to potentially look like an idiot because
Crazy.
In reality, you would like that. That is like the good thing about getting older is making sometimes wiser decisions is that I would never agree to be on a reality show.
Ever.
Like, hell no, because I would get tipsy, I would get cocky, and then I would say something, or I would start getting cocky like we see Craig Conover doing, where you start like, well, you know what? I am going to have this fight on camera. I believe in myself that much. And then you don't count on, we always see this with the Housewives. The Housewives think that, well, they loved me the first season, they're going to love me the second. I just got to I got to push harder. And then you see the audience turn on you. But in those moments, you can sometimes see the wheels turning where they're like, the audience is going to love this. And they don't.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's always rough, right? I mean, I think even Heather is having a little bit of that moment where I think her, similar to Leah, they have incredible one-on-one interviews. Like they do it. And actually Lisa Barlow is getting better too, I think.
I turned a corner on Lisa Barlow this season.
Did I.
But that's what I love about the Housewives though, right? Like we can dislike somebody one season and like them the next. Like that's what I kind of dig. Like Heather Gay, for me, the first two seasons, she didn't fall into the second season curse, but she is finding herself in a newly formed third season curse. And I know that Heather Gay is a good person, but if you're thinking about in terms of gameplay, which is, that's what Lisa Rinna has turned these shows into, is gameplay, she's falling behind because she's she's like, it was like me. It's like I'm wanting to be part of the cool kids club, and I never could. And I feel like she's like, oh shit, I'm part of the cool kids club all of a sudden. And she doesn't know which way to go. She wants to please everybody and she wants to be friends with everybody, but she'll speak over here and not realize what she said. And that's going to come back to haunt her over here. And it's that thing of wanting to please everybody at once and not knowing what it's like to be popular in the way that she's popular now. So I think that sometimes comes back to haunt you.
I think that's probably how I would be. I think that's why I love her so much. And again, like you said, I mean, we both know her personally and she's couldn't be lovelier. And that's why I don't watch. I mean, I never ever watched Leah on The Housewives. I never watched a clip. I never watched an episode.
Because you know her in real life. It would affect things potentially.
The drinking thing was so weird because I've only known her sober, and that really threw me. And then to just kind of know behind the scenes, it was too tough. Do you have you met other straight, are there any other straight Bravo expert male identifying?
I'm the only one. No. Well, nobody knows this, but Danny Pellegrino is straight. He tries to, no. No, there's these guys, the Bros that have just come out, I think, in the last year. And I've not been able to have them on, but we've communicated. I'm sure they'll come on in 2023 because but they seem really nice and everybody digs them, I think. So there's
Michael
them.
Rappaport, it's you and Michael Rappaport, I feel like.
Yeah, well, that's what I love Michael Rappaport on Stern, but I hate Michael Rappaport in the Bravo universe.
Why?
It's like I like certain. Well, because he just has completely differing opinions than I do in terms of he's so far up Erica Jane and Lisa Rinna's ass sometimes that I'm just like, you can't even see the forest from the trees in here. But then I'll like him comedically on Stern when he comes on and makes fun of Gary and all, there's certain ways I can stomach Michael Rappaport. I just think his Bravo opinions are trash. And but there's Bros, there's the guy Caduce, who doesn't have a podcast, but he's an IG and he does all the cartoons that are amazing. He's a straight dude. We're out here, but
you're out
also
there.
Remember when there was that show hosted by Jerry O'Connell and it was all about it was on Bravo.
Yes.
It was 4 straight dudes. Jerry O'Connell led it. What was it? It was Bravo. It was something about straight dudes in Bravo. And I was like, here's my thought about this. I'm an interloper in this. I don't want to be the head of anything. I want to be I just want to have a seat at the table. I believe deep down, these shows are for gay men and women and women. I believe that these shows are made for them. I feel like I am an interloper in some ways, and it does not mean that I don't deserve to be here or do anything what I do, but I just genuinely love these shows. But I also recognize that these shows aren't potentially made for me, or I know they're not. These shows aren't made for me. I just love them dearly. And sometimes you can't explain exactly why you love them, but I love these shows. So I'm just happy to even have a voice in this at all. But I never need to be number one, nor have I ever even pushed to try to make moves like that, because I'm just glad to, that's my Housewives tagline, just glad to be here,
When you went to BravoCon, were you getting did you get some numbers from some of the other fans?
No,
you got it because you're the one straight guy up in there.
No, I think you'd have to ask women. I think I come off.
You have not fucked any Bravo obsessed because you're Bravo adjacent.
No, I've had conversations definitely with girls that have been Bravo obsessed, especially the first year that I did this. But I mean, it was pandemic, so it was all in DMs. I've never gotten sent nudes. I've never gotten sent and I've never requested. Well, wait. I've never requested them. I've never sent a dick pic. I was a dick pic. I've never sent. I'm just not that. Well, type
you're
of person
in your parents'
anyways.
basement, right? You're in Scottsdale, and your parents are upstairs.
I've slept with 9 people in my life. I mean, that's a good amount. I'm being way too personal here, but I'm saying what it was, Liz, though, was it was amazing because I mean, people did know me. It was weird. And my body just turned to sweat immediately.
Do you remember when you asked me if I was going to BravoCon and I was like, no?
Yeah, you were like, fuck no. You're like, fuck no. And I was like, what?
Yeah, but the thing for me was and I said this with Taylor Strecker because she didn't go either. And we weren't asked to do. it's tricky now. You know what I mean? For me. And I think for her too, because we're like, well, we're not really asked to do anything. We don't really cover Bravo on our own. Like, I don't know. So I didn't go, but the FOMO for me was
I got
out of control. I mean, Heather's texting me, Leah's texting me, fucking MJ's texting me. I felt awful.
Mercedes was Mercedes was so, I love Mercedes. We're on the same, she's just awesome. But what it was like, for me,
you're on the same what? You were going to say the same network.
Oh, same podcast network. Yeah. So we were on the same
out here.
No. But anyway, she's what really saved me was that a friend did not use their Gansevoort, where they were all staying, reservation. So I got to pay for that, which is the most expensive hotel I've ever stayed at in my life, because I come from humble beginnings, and it was worth every damn penny, you guys, because they can't, like, it was where, I mean, the BravoCon was one thing, but always it was like, well, the hotel's going to be way better. Like, every night up on the balcony, there was like just every Bravo like Jen Shaw was like getting down, like there was not a care in the world.
So Jen Shaw was really at the Gansevoort.
Oh, dude, I don't know if she was staying there, but she was definitely at the party, the Friday night Bravo party that Andy threw. She was up there. I mean, Emily D. Baker, the lawyer, was like, Ryan, come here, and grabbed me, and we stood to the side watching Jen Shaw dance, and I was like, the world is a simulation. There's no way this is real. Like, it felt so bizarre and a little bit too close to the sun, you guys, for me. And on top of that, you would go to BravoCon, and then you know, sometimes I would be noticed of like, oh, you're from the podcast, or I listen to your podcast, or I love you, and it was so overwhelming, all of it. But also, I lucked out. Like, I was going to go regardless. I paid for my own ticket. I did all of that stuff. At the last minute, DirecTV wanted me to do their like opening night party and interview Teresa for something, but that was like at the very last minute. So I ended up not breaking even. Probably I spent a little bit more than I got, but in the end, it was so worth it to like make connections and see it. But just even as a Bravo fan, I geeked out. Even if I didn't have a podcast, I would have geeked out. Like, it's still like, I know, like, I want to be there one day moderating. I want to be there doing something, but at the same time, I'm still a fan at the end of the day. Like, I would love to not take notes and treat this as seriously as I do. Like, I was taking notes on, my friend was like, have somebody type up the notes for Salt Lake for me, and then I rewatch it 2 times with those notes. I put really hard work into this. But I would love to just be like the old days sometimes, where I just watched it for pleasure every week.
What's your thought on Bethany Frankel's new podcast?
So I actually have not gotten into arguments, but some people, and this is what I love about fandom of any sorts, but Bravo especially, is that everybody, you guys, like who you want to like. Like, my opinion of Bethany Frankel at the end of the day is my opinion. Have your own.
Okay, so you like Bethany Frankel then?
No, I don't.
Oh, yeah,
I don't.
I can't. I think
no. I've gotten into arguments with people about this. I think it's like the Kardashians for me. It's a love-hate thing where it's like, do you leave any money on the table? Like, do you like? And also, you have been trashing the Housewives for the last 3 years, and I take that shit personally because I'm a whack job and I consider these people my family. So if you're going to make fun of my family, I'm going to get upset. And then if you're going to try to make money off of my family after you've ripped on them for 3 years, I'm going to get even more upset. And then if you're going to go and like then all of a sudden critique females like Meghan Markle and the Kardashians, but then whine and cry when you get critiqued yourself, I find it all, the emperor has no clothes. I find it all really upsetting. And it really, I think there's a pathology here to Bethany Frankel that I'm like, there's a psychosis here, because what is going on? Like, why do you need to take all the air in the room? Sorry, that was aggressive.
No, you and I have the exact same opinion, because that's the largest glass I've ever seen. Is that Coca-Cola with crushed ice?
It's Diet Coke. I've got
Do you have a crushed ice machine?
I'm giving up Diet Coke for the New Year's, January 1st. So this is my last hurrah these last 2 weeks of the year.
Oh God, forever, or just the month?
Well, no, I mean, I'm going to try to. I mean, like, yeah, I don't plan on going back to it. I just my life has become podcasting and drinking Diet Coke.
Oh,
it's
boy.
so sad.
Oh, you're like two shakes of a stick from just living on.
Well, by the way, Liz, why do you want any of this? That's what I'm like, Liz, you have this amazing life. Why do you want any of this?
Oh, because I'm the same. You and I have talked about this. We like went to acting school I just interviewed a woman like an hour ago, just moved to LA, like is doing like just did UCB, or she did it a couple years ago, but she's like doing the acting thing, like gonna go fucking pay casting directors to like do those workshops, which in my opinion is the biggest fucking racket on the planet. And I'm just looking at her, I'm like, oh God. I mean, it's torturous. I mean, it's because I spent my whole life on a stage acting and it didn't really work out the way I
know
was conditioned it was going to. And then I had a turning point at one moment where I'm like, well, wait, I'm having a hard time being booked for any of these roles because I'm not skinny enough. I'm not fat enough. I'm too funny. I'm not funny enough. I'm too pretty. I'm not pretty enough. I'm like gay, but I'm not really that gay. And then I was like, well, wait, how many like debutante queer probably smoked a blunt with your favorite rapper, like had every corporate job on the planet, like I don't know that many white girls like that. So why don't I just be myself? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, no,
so,
no,
like,
I totally. It's funny that the thing that you've been looking for has been in front of your face the whole time, and that's how I always feel like if I were to believe, or it's always that thing that you read is that go the direction the water is flowing. I just never thought all the shows that I passionately loved. Like I was married before you guys, and it wasn't my wife who got me into these shows. My ex-wife got me into the shows. It was the other way around. I was always the one like going, oh, I remember the first night Orange County premiered and going, I've got to watch that. It was so clear. I just never thought you could actually make a living of that. And I want to correct a statement earlier. You were talking about hooking up with girls. And it wasn't like, no,
I'm
it
just
wasn't.
saying,
It wasn't.
I would think it's like a fucking gold mine for you.
I want to tell you, when I first got separated and divorced, that was when I found Facebook groups. That was when I didn't realize that there was a whole community of people. I didn't know about podcasts. I knew of like This American Life and stuff, but I didn't realize there were these Facebook groups where everybody was sitting there dissecting all of this shit I love. And so I remember I was working at Leslie's, Leslie Kahn, and I would be in the office
got thousands of dollars for me.
Yeah, from all of us. And I would be on there, and I through a friend discovered these Facebook groups. And it was so amazing because I could go in there and I could pop off a joke and all this about the housewives, and it would get likes. And I would be like, I'm not used to getting likes in anything. I'm not even, this is amazing. Like I can actually make fun of Aviva's leg and everybody knows what I'm talking about, or I can make fun of David Bedore naked in the woods. That was interesting because that was the first time where girls were, and sometimes I didn't even realize it, girls were hitting on me at times. And I did date somebody from a Facebook group before the podcast actually came out. And that was, but it was one of those things that I always am very wary of. But
like, could you ever date someone that wasn't into Bravo? Probably not.
Oh, I mean, I think they would have to have a fairly healthy relationship with it, but not. I could definitely date somebody. I mean, I couldn't date somebody that just hates it and disrespects it because that's what I do. But yeah, no, totally.
Have we ever talked about Christy Sexton and the whole Amber Heard thing?
Oh, the Johnny Depp, yeah.
Do you like
Christy
die
Sexton?
over
You
that?
guys. Christy Sexton was an acting coach at Leslie's.
They know. Most of my listeners, the ride or dies who are Taylor Strecker listeners, know that Christy was my acting coach. I hung out with Amber a ton because of Christy. Christy had introduced us.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize your relationship with Christy. By the way, I was saying the other day on the podcast, Amber was like, guys, Amber baked all of us like cookies for the office. Like the Amber Heard I remember was always like really, really super nice. And me and my buddy Evan that worked in the office, we were always like, she's really cool. Like, and I remember hearing those stories about Johnny and like the wedding and all of these things. And I was like, well, and even this last year, all of this stuff, I was like, wow, Amber was pretty nice to me. And I usually have a really high bullshit, meter on like who is real and who isn't. But I mean, listen, it's, who knows
it was just
behind
crazy
closed doors who you
Christy was being deposed from Australia. It's just nuts. It's just so funny. I think when you live in LA for a long time, or if you like do those things, it's just so funny. I've just realized, I'm like, oh my God, you and I have never talked about that. Like how Christy.
I didn't even realize I knew you had a relationship with Trisha, but I didn't realize with Christy.
Christy was my main coach.
Wow. Yeah, was not aware of that at all.
And
In
then
fact, I think
Christy like really took to me and like really tried to help me. She believed in me.
yeah.
And yeah, she was my coach and was like the best and was really like pushing me. And it's just so strange. We all know that eating whole natural foods is the best way for us to feel good. Sadly, fiber can increase bloating, not getting enough sleep can affect digestion, and well, late night pizza and wine doesn't help, right? I've tried a million products that claim to help with gut health, but I'm loving Plant-Wise probiotics. It contains an all-in-one formula, so it's pre, pro, and postbiotics, all in one single capsule. They are honestly the best I've ever tried. Plant-Wise has more active cultures than most of their competitors. It costs less, which is awesome because I find it way more effective than any, quote, premium brand that's out there. Since I've been taking them, I just feel like lighter and brighter, which is great because I haven't really been feeling that way the last couple of years. If you want to heal from the inside out, try the Plant-Wise Pre, Pro, and Postbiotic at getplantwise.com. You can even use my code ListenToLiz20 for 20% off. So, do you think Bravo's in like a good... So there's been a lot of like chatter, I think primarily about Beverly Hills. Obviously, you went to BravoCon, you saw people boo Lisa Rinna, which like, I'm not really a huge fan of people booing people. I think that's kind of fucked up, especially when you're...
But this is wrestling. This is like Bravo is turned into pro wrestling. I know.
It's like, WWE. Yeah, for sure. It's like Hulk Hogan coming out. Like, I get it. But do you think, and you know, Andy, I guess recently was sort of like, we're, you know, not necessarily, I think his quote was taken out of context because I read it a couple of times and it really just sounded like to me like, we haven't started filming quite yet of Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
He kind of said pause, but that word pause in Bravo land is like...
It's very scary after Dorinda. Very
scary. Yeah. Especially, yes, of course, after Dorinda. But how do you think like how do you think like Bravo is right now? Like, I think that, you know, have people gotten too out of control? Do you think Beverly Hills will get back on the right track? Do you like, what do you think?
Well, the good news is NBC Universal likes money, right? So if you take that into account, Beverly Hills is just fine. Like, it has gotten the highest ratings, you know, like they're right. I mean, they did ratings wise excellent. And that's where, remember, at the end of the day, like they always told you in acting school, we're here to sell soap. Basically, TV was invented to sell advertising, and they're selling a lot of it, and they're doing really good. So every time somebody says Lisa Rinna is going to get fired, part of the reason why I think they are taking this cool down period is so people actually forget how upset they are at characters like Lisa Rinna. Like, it almost gives the castmates a chance to go, you know what? I think I could do another season with them, or I think I could be in scenes with Lisa again. I think it gives the cast actually time to cool down, and it also gives people a chance to forget. We forget so quickly now because the pop culture cycle just goes so quick. You know, once Beverly Hills is over, we immediately go to Miami, then we go to Jersey, then we go to it always for on and on. And you start to lessen like all that. Like, I mean, I get in it. Like, Beverly Hills is my World Cup, you know, and I like those reunions. I was furious with Lisa, especially saying something like, I'm going to get cancer if I don't say that, you know, like that kind of shit just is so irresponsible and repugnant and so many disgusting things, you know, for somebody I'm dealing with cancer and not in my family. And I just thought that was horrific. And especially on a season where your mother passes away, you know, and then just the amount, I mean, it's changed in a lot of ways from where it began. If you went back and watched the first season of Beverly Hills or even OC, you would be like, is this a Oscar nominated documentary? Like, it would, you know, it's like shot very like shaky. You're like, wow, this is very artistic. And what it's turned into now is like Beverly Hills. I always think is like Michael Bay Transformers, so glossy. Luckily, they not luckily, but Tom Girardi stole money from a lot of people. And luckily for the show, they had cameras around when this real life event took place. And it breathed new energy into all of it.
Also,
because
like,
before that, we had the puppies. Like,
I know. But also, like, if you were stealing money from that many people, why the fuck would you be on camera?
It's
like Jen Shaw. It's like, that is why I think Salt Lake is so incredible, is I'm like, Jen, you allegedly fucking.
No, we don't have to say allegedly anymore.
Yeah, because
we don't have to say allegedly. There is proof, you guys.
Yeah. And also she now has, I guess pleaded guilty, but like, why the fuck would you be on TV wearing insane shit? Like, it's so mind-boggling to me.
And
that
also,
you would be doing that. It's crazy.
But see, that's the Housewives. That's why it is mind-blowing, because you're always like, it's the ego, the ego of these women. The thing that we love them for is also the thing that ends up destroying them. And that to me is Shakespearean. There's like a tragedy there. This is like Macbeth or something. You're watching Jen hang herself by her own ego, and she's still having Glam Squad on a vacation. She's throwing $1,500 off of a shoe, off of a boat, along with a vegetable charcuterie tray. And you're like,
the charcuterie tray was just, well, actually,
come on, that's
it
good.
Wasn't charcuterie, it was crudité.
It was just bad.
So
crudité. Sorry. But I think she said charcuterie.
She did. And
in the moment.
Very quickly, I was like, that's actually from the Ralphs, and that is crudité. Also, you just threw plastic into the fucking ocean.
Like, you watch like a dolphin just die right there. Like, I feel like she's committing so many crimes just in these episodes that have nothing to do with the crime she actually already committed, that I'm like, that's the kind of balls that we look for in Housewives. But you're like watching it, and I don't think Salt Lake this season is getting the credit or the ratings that it deserves, because it is truly something that I've never seen with the Housewives. It's so bizarre. Like I was explaining, it feels like, I keep describing it as like a David Lynch kind of like, where you don't even, you like think it's going to go this way, or like, well, that's obviously what she's going to say back to this character, and then the character says something completely different that you would have never imagined, or forgives a character that they should have never forgiven. Like, it is like, and like, what does Meredith have? I mean, what does Jen have on Meredith and Heather? Like, I'm like, at a certain point, I'm like, what is going on, that at a certain point it's all right, you guys, you can admit Jen Shaw is wrong. And like,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Best friends are best friends, but also I've had friendships where my friends have held me, and this is really hard when they do, held me accountable, and they really, but also, it's okay to show that on TV. And if Jen was truly sorry or wanting forgiveness, she definitely doesn't seem like it on this season. She definitely. That was the thing we were asking for Erika Jayne too. Is that like, well, have you tried being sympathetic? Have you tried to even? And I guess she was getting credit, Erika Jayne, for like standing in her own power of like, I don't need to apologize to the victims. I did nothing. And you'd be like, okay, cool, but like, can't you at least apologize on behalf of your husband, your better half? Of like, I'm sorry, my husband I had no knowledge, but I'm sorry. And she wouldn't even do that. She actually said, well, I can't because of legal reasons. And then she also goes, well, if there really are victims, I think a lot of these people are making their story up. And I'm like, you can't be sympathetic, but you can actually throw in the idea that these victims are lying. There was an actual plane crash, and we can actually tell where the money went. And the sad thing about anything nowadays is that 30% of the people will believe anything that is told to them on a television screen or a social media app, just right off the gate. So there are 30% of the people that will buy Erika Jayne or Jen Shaw's bullshit for the rest of the time. Then there's the rest of us that usually go, well, let's see how this plays out. That's probably about 20% of us. And then 50% of us are like, you're guilty as hell. You need to apologize. So that's why Bravo is so fascinating, because it has all sorts of people being fans of it.
Mauricio.
What was it about his hotness? What are we talking? His highness?
I don't. No. You tell me. Like, what are you like? What's the vibe? Like, what's your vibe on Mauricio?
Well, Mauricio is somebody like. Listen, this is a. When you think of it, pull back frame and extrapolate. Look at it. They're from the Hilton family. Which is Kyle's from the Hilton family, and that is such a fascinating, rich history itself. I was talking to somebody about the book House of Hilton the other day about their family, and it is a fascinating tale of the family that Kyle, Kim, and Kathy are from, with their mom, Big Kathy. But the Mauricio stuff is fascinating. They've truly used the show to their benefit in a very casual way, but they've slowly built. What I find interesting is that, we've seen that, remember, Mauricio worked for Hilton and Highland. He worked for Rick Hilton, Kathy's husband. And that there was a big falling out because he left to start the agency. And now the agency is the biggest agency in town worldwide. We've got a show on Netflix, but also the LA Times just wrote an expose yesterday where they are, the agency's in a bit of trouble. There's a Malibu, these lawsuits are coming to light, but also the fact that there is this really strained relationship between Rick and Kathy and Kyle and Mauricio. And we can see that played out through Kyle and Kathy's relationship on the show. But Rick Hilton never really makes an appearance on the show, which I find amazing. He's just like, no, I'm not going to do it. But Mauricio is there just being a good guy. He's always the guy that's like, yeah, okay, all right. There's a bit of, did you watch White Lotus season 2? I mean, you have to, right? You live in Los Angeles. Yeah, you have to get out of California if you don't. He reminds me a little, like, you guys are going to push back on this, but there's a little bit of who's the guy, so bad with their names, the actor that grabbed Aubrey Plaza's leg and the Asian dude thought,
yeah.
The guy with the prosthetic dong.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's a bit of that where I think Mauricio always has this really chill mask on, and maybe he's really like that, but it's so charming. That, like you're just always like charmed by Mauricio. He's one of those lucky people that has this kind of Matthew McConaughey kind of thing where he's a little stoned, but at the same time, I'm like, Mauricio knows what he's doing. Like Mauricio, you don't just have something like the agency happen and not know what you're doing.
No,
that just doesn't, you don't stumble. I mean, that as being an actor out here, it's like really the longer you stay in the game. And somebody told me that when I first moved here in my 20s of like, remember, it's a marathon, not a race, which is the last thing you want to hear when you're trying to make it. And you realize like, oh shit, it really is. It's the people they give you your jobs out here.
Correct.
It's like, it's the casting offices that believed in you. You might not have gotten the first 5 parts you came in for, but the 6th part, you got I got on The Office because I had gotten cast on The Office before, and they wrote out my part. And then years later, they said, oh, don't worry, we'll get you. And it was like the very last season, and it was like 2 episodes before the finale. And I got a call going like, hey, do you want to come on? And I was like, for an audition? And they're like, no, we wrote you a part and we told you we'd get you back on. And they remembered. Like, there are those moments in Hollywood that is like by happenstance and just waiting around and trying to, I don't know. But like Mauricio, that shit just doesn't happen overnight. And he's smarter than anybody gives him credit for. And he's able to play it real chill. And if Mauricio ever screwed you over, I have a feeling you would never see it coming. And that's why Rick Hilton that's probably why it stung Rick and Kathy a little more than we're aware of, because I don't think they expected it maybe.
What is your thoughts on the new New York?
Cool. Yeah, let's do it. I mean, like I'm always like, well, yeah,
I don't think there's going to be a lot of drama. I know one of them, Sai.
Well, they're
lovely.
Well, we've already had Lizzie leave because of supposedly her husband, allegedly said the N-word. And I'm like, yeah, get out, but she claimed anti-Semitism. We do live in a weird society now where it's like, who can claim like, well, he said the N-word. Well, he's anti-Semitic. I'm like, whoa, we're not even getting this on film. This is all played out over social media, where sometimes the real show behind the show is. But I'm willing to give anything a shot. I'm not against anything, but I do think there is legs in Roni,
Legacy.
What is it? Classic Roni here. Like, yeah, I think there's legs in that. I wish there was more forward momentum on that, because I feel, and that's probably going to be a Peacock exclusive when they finally do it.
For 100%. And I've been saying this forever. I mean, people are like, oh, why do you think? And I'm like, because of the business side. I mean, Peacock needs subscribers. I mean, that's the only way.
And somebody was arguing with me about Miami. Somebody was like, "How dare they not put Miami on regular Bravo?" And
because they
not know how streaming works.
Yeah, they don't.
I mean, like that's the whole bit. Is that they want to get you to a point where you're like, "Oh man, I can't be part of the conversation unless I pay $5 a month." I guess I like it. the first season of Miami was really good, and people talked about it, but people still kind of on the fence. But it's really interesting to see this last couple of weeks with the first 4 episodes of Miami dropping last week. And people, I loved all 4 episodes so much, was talking about it. Everybody was talking about it. And it kind of created a little bit of a scene, which is exactly what they want. That's the thing that gets you to pay your $5.
Totally. Yeah, I think my only worry for the new New York is that those women individually are very polished people. Like Sai, I don't think her husband will be on it. We'll see. He like won't be on social media. She is a full-on fashion influencer. She's lovely. Couldn't be lovelier from what I know. Then you've got like a model. You've got, if Jenna Lyons isn't like being the lesbian hoe that I need her to be, then like unsubscribe immediately. Like I need Jenna Lyons to be going out on dates. I need there to be scissoring conversations. I need there to be pussy, 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 pussy all day long. I need it. If we don't have it.
But by the way, that's what I thought the failure of Leah too was with like, why don't we bring in Leah's friends or like even like the ones that we like? Why don't we have Azalea Banks in there? Why don't we have Kat Marnell? Why don't we have you? Why don't we have like?
I don't know.
I'm just saying like. That's what I always found fascinating. Of course, Leah is not going to fit in sometimes with that group. You're trying to like put a square peg into a round hole, and it's like a different age group entirely. So of course she's going to end up coming off like a different person because she is a different person. Like you're asking Leah to assimilate with another group of women that are completely out of her age range and probably at that point tax bracket. She's probably doing well now, but like it's just how did you guys think that would ever work? Like it only works sadly, and we encourage the drinking aspect of it, of going crazy and throwing tiki torches. That's what we encourage, because I got to tell you, we were locked in our rooms, and it was fascinating television during the pandemic. I was like, who is this Leah woman?
I know. It's a bummer because, and I said this to her 5 days ago, it's like she was great on Millionaire Matchmaker. Like, I adore her. Yeah. I know her as a person. I love Rob. Like, they always joke that I am like worse than Kier. No, because Kier doesn't want them to get back together. I'm always like, are mom and dad getting back together? Like, can Leah and Rob just like make it work? Like, please. Leah's like, shut the fuck up. I mean, I just think like Bunny is fascinating. Sarah is a handful.
Yes.
Like, they are so amazing. But if I'm not to like toot my own fucking horn, but like our girl group, like our friends group of all of us, including some of the guys, like Bobby Hundreds is fucking great. Like all like,
yeah,
I just think Bobby's fabulous. I adore him. Like there's just Kat is Kat. I mean, Julia could have been on back in the day. Like there is such a ragtag
that's what I'm saying.
crew.
Julia Fox. I mean, like
it could be
Leah was
a
Julia's
whole
sponsor.
Thing.
Like or
I know.
like I mean, that to me was like, why aren't we trying to get more that way than trying to assimilate to Ramona and Sonia? Like I'm all for, but I'm like, but that's what I'm saying. They even said in the show, well, we don't really go, we stay in the Upper East Side. We don't really go down here to that spa. We don't really. And to me, that was the fascinating thing about like, and they really didn't, they tried it a little bit and it spun out Ramona too much to have to deal with Leah. And I feel like Leah unfairly got the brunt of that, of like being that kind of different person. And then in a second season, when you stop drinking, the thing that like you were wildly celebrated for, you were saying like classic lines, but you were saying them drunk, and converting to Judaism, cutting her storyline back. Like she was in a crossroads of trying to develop who she was as a person. And that's really hard to do with cameras on you, I imagine. And I don't think I would be able to do it, nor would I be entertaining at the moments in my life when I'm trying to make changes.
No, and I think it's a bummer. So we'll see. I mean, do I think I'm going to watch Ultimate Girls Trip with Leah? Probably not. I will tell you, I will tell you as an exclusive, Leah was in LA. Yeah, why didn't you come to her book? I was there. Like, why didn't you come to the book thing?
I wasn't invited.
Yeah, you were. It was like to the public. I was with Bunny and Bobby.
Listen, I mean, I'm not. I mean, yeah, I don't.
Okay, fine,
I should
whatever.
have come, but
anyway,
also,
you should have come.
Yeah.
So I was there exclusive, like as she was finding out about Thailand. And I'm like, oh my God, well, who else is going? And and at that point, Tinsley was going to go. And she's like, well, Heather, like I still haven't talked to her. I still haven't met her. And so real story, I was there. I messaged Heather and I was like, you better be cool to my friend. Like take care of her. And then I looked at Leah. I'm like, Heather's your girl. Y'all can like be each other's person. I don't know what plays out. I mean, I actually do. I know everything. That
you
plays
do,
out.
yeah.
I'm like, actually, I know.
Wait, can you tell us? Was she cool to your girl?
I cannot confirm or deny that.
Okay.
I can confirm that they're cool now, but I don't
know when this comes out. But Wednesday night we get to see finally how Heather got that bruise on her eye, which they keep teasing like Paranormal Activity with the black and white footage, and then Heather with the eye completely closed on Salt Lake. That's this week's episode, which I'm really excited to find out the mystery behind that. It's probably going to be disappointing, but I'm still excited.
That's what I said. I think it's going to be like she opened up a door in her face or something. Like, I don't think it's going to be she gets socked in the face by Jen Shah. I mean, it could, though. Jen is very violent, and leads to violence. All the shoves motherfuckers. Honestly, you know what Jen could use is somebody shoving her. Like somebody going right back at her.
Well, oh my God. So Trisha was on the show last week and she brought her friend on who actually served 2 years in Danbury prison. And it was the most fascinating interview, you guys, because she walked us through what Jen should expect. She served 2 years and it was the most amazing story. She was the coolest girl, but she said if Jen comes all hot and heavy, she's got to really there's a chance Jen Shah could thrive in prison, but she's got to play her cards right, especially in that first couple of weeks. You've got to make friends with the right people. It's like a different version of Housewives. And I found that just fascinating to me about rules of it. And she goes, you know what? Like the COs, they can either be your best friend or your worst nightmare, depending on the day, but it's like super chill. Like she was telling us there's one computer room, but all your emails got to be read before they get sent out. She's like, yeah, we would lay out sometimes. Of course, there would be like goose poop all over, but we'd lay out. Like it was all this kind of like minutia that and what I found fascinating, you can't even get you guys hair color. You can only get hair coloring on your you get put money on your books for like snacks and stuff. You can buy hair coloring, but it's got to be your hair color. You can't all of a sudden decide to go blonde, because they would consider that changing your identity, which is a no-no in prison. And I thought there's just little things like that were fascinating.
I love that. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. Well, actually, I have 2 last questions. 1, do you think I would be good on Housewives? And then 2, what's a city do you think that they should have a housewife?
I think Scottsdale should be a city that they have housewives. I grew up in Paradise Valley, Scottsdale area. I moved from Kansas to there. And my parents live in Gilbert now, which is like 40 minutes from Scottsdale. But Scottsdale has a very specific type of woman that I think brings wealth. It's almost like a different form of Miami. I would be amused to see how they deal with the heat. But I also would be like, there is a certain nightlife that is in Scottsdale and a certain type of woman that is married to very rich. I don't know. I think there is something to be explored, and it's the desert. I think that's actually a good backdrop.
Okay.
I think that would be amazing. And then, I'm sorry, what was the other question?
Do you think I'd be a good housewife?
Okay. So I think you'd be a good housewife, but I also don't think it would be good for you mentally. I think you would the things that you would be criticized for, or any lady for that matter, or any man for that matter. I just don't think it would be worth your while to get, I think you can find a way to be successful without being a housewife. I would personally love to see it because I want to see you and how your wife work together. I just see pictures on Instagram.
My wife won't go on. My wife won't do anything.
Well, that's what. Listen, we deal with that a little bit in Miami with Martina. But I would be curious just because I am curious about how your day-to-day life goes. I'm like, okay, you worked for these amazing publications and you have this amazing wife and you have this. I would love to see. That's part of the best part of these shows for me is I get to see lives that I never could be a part of or have access to in any sort of imagination. So I think it would be great for us. I think it'd be horrible for you.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I would just go on Ozempic like Ramona and just
By the way,
like
if anybody has any Ozempic prescriptions, let me know. I'm really looking to try to.
they're so easy. I shot myself in the thigh. I was in New York at a
Wait, you're
friend's
on
house.
Ozempic?
No, I'm not on it.
Admitted...
No,
okay.
I'm not on it. I was at a friend's house in New York, pulled down my pants. I was wasted. Pulled down my pants and was like, shoot me in the ass right now. And she did. I threw up in JFK, had to lie to the TSA people and say that I was pregnant so that they would let me on the fucking plane. I didn't
They're like, we got an Ozempic on too.
No, if you're sick, they won't let you on planes. I was so nauseous for days, but I kept like drinking. I was not hungry.
It could be the hangover too, Liz. It
Fair
could
enough.
be the booze.
No, it wasn't. It's just different. It's like different. It's like you just do not eat food. You just don't. You're like not hungry at all. And
that's what I'm looking for.
It's very easy to get.
No, I'm joking, but it is funny. It is just funny. We live in this Kardashian fueled society. Is that, that's supposedly how they've got. I was talking about this with somebody else. He's like, you're an actor, you get this. Like, remember when actors were praised for, you had your De Niro's and your Hanks gaining a bunch of weight and then losing a bunch of weight, and you're like, oh my God, that deserves an Oscar. And now the Kardashians are doing that with their real lives, and they're not getting Oscars for it, but it's hysterical how they're making the body transformations that De Niro and Hanks did, I just find it fascinating that they're like, and they consider, like, Kim literally wants praise for it. She wants to be considered in the same vote, like, why don't you consider me like De Niro, I think that's fascinating.
So I thought that I was going to have multiple. This is the fun thing about doing a new show and like doing formats. And like, I was convinced. I was like, okay, I'm going to have a whole show about why guys like Bravo. And like, I'm going to figure. And my wife was like, you're going to get in trouble with that episode. And I was like, really? What? Am I? No, I'm not.
I don't think
I'm going to interview all these different guys. Danny Pellegrino was like, no, I'll see you in January. I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I was like, Ryan's got to come on.
You're like, cool.
I was like, cool. I was like, gotta get Ryan on here. He's the expert. I'm like, I'm going to talk to Bravo by Gaze, which is this like meme account.
Yeah, I know that, dude. Yeah.
But here's the problem, Ryan, is that you just talk so amazing for an hour. Maybe now it's an installment show. I do.
But why? I mean, but see, why can't it? But isn't that the exciting thing about podcasting? If there is anything exciting about podcasting, is that you truly are in the driver's seat. This is this is how you want it to be. What I loved about listening to your podcast was that I was like, I love that you talked in the beginning about like, oh, I was going to have it be this one thing, and then I decided it was going to be this other thing. And I believe podcasting, that's where I've found my voice more than anywhere else in my life. And it's exciting that tonight I know I have to, no matter what happens, I have to sit behind my computer, get into GarageBand, and release a show. And I know parts of that show already. Like right now I'm sitting here thinking, but I know, okay, well, I'm going to bring up that I had this conversation with Liz and I want to bring up these ideas. Plus I had this interview and this pastiche starts to happen. And I think that has actually given me more confidence and made me feel better about who I am as a person, because I was always ashamed of what I liked for most of my life in certain ways, or that I didn't fit in with my guy friends. Isn't it funny that this show about strong women gave like a really insecure guy his voice? And almost like, if you're a woman out there, you're like, fuck you, I don't care about your voice. But, listen, it's been really nice. I think that's the exciting thing. And you're finding that out. So like, keep on that path. That means it's like working if you're like changing gears and like figuring puzzle pieces out,
Oh my God, Ryan, what a lovely chat. And
was this okay? I always get worried. I get nervous. I was like, I consider you one of the cool kids. So
oh my God, no, I'm not. You're cool. Your
podcast is cool. I mean, come on. Like, let's
fair enough.
And by the way, you guys, if you like this, Liz is going to be coming on my show either before the end of the year or in the beginning of the year, whatever she wants. So
do I go into a studio or do we do it on Zoom?
No, we do it on Zoom. Listen, the studio will be available, I think, at the end of January if you want to wait for that. And there will
I just
be
like to it's like when I go to Dear Media and I'm like, oh my God, I'm the only white girl that doesn't have a podcast on Dear Media. Here I am, like as another guest.
But by the way, like, listen, I'm happy to recommend you to iHeart. I'm happy to recommend like that. These are the things that listen. it's better. Like I'm offering, it's better that than you drunkenly, like I did with Leah, go, can you come on my podcast for
Oh my
like,
God, I do it all the time. Ryan, what you don't know is that after the diary episode, I started to bully my 8th grade ex-boyfriend on Instagram, being like, you're a pussy. Just come on the fucking show. You owe me. You cheated on me. I talked about it in my diary, and he's like not talking to, like he stopped responding.
No, I have a 7-year ex that was a high school into college into moving to LA together, that like I'm getting now ballsy enough where I'm like, should I reach out to her to find out what it was like to be with me in my early 20s?
No, this is what I did. This is what I did. This is exactly what I did, Ryan.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've talked myself out of it since, but there are those things where that's what I love about it's like the great equalizer, is that sometimes you're on top of the world and you get the guest you want, you get everything you want, and sometimes you're just right at the bottom of the shit pile again, because each day it's like climbing up that hill. You just got to find out the hills that you want to climb. Like I don't mind climbing up this podcasting hill because I'm getting better at climbing the more I do it. But like sometimes, like, you're like as a fellow actor, it's like you just know what a shit pie it can be of like you just constantly have to eat shit and people are telling you no, and it messes with your psyche so much because you're like, your looks are involved and they don't know the real you and they don't give you the chance, and nobody ever, you start to realize all those things in high school because somebody told you were good in your school musical, it gave you the confidence to come out to LA and get stomped on. But then you realize as you're in your 30s and later, you're like, oh, it really is a lottery. It really is right place, right time, right person. Oh my God, there's going to be so many things that line up at the right time just to have one little door open. And that's why even like us, we're probably more successful than 90% of the actors out here. And that's sad because we don't consider ourselves successful, but it is interesting. It is just an interesting thing. So come to LA, kids, come to LA.
Yeah, trust me. The listeners know unfortunately, I got called very negative because you should know Andrea Lopez. She's fabulous. You should have her on.
Yeah, Andrea Lopez comedy. Yeah.
She's the funniest. I like totally shat on her. She should be on SNL, and I basically told her that anyway. I was like, LA is the worst. The people that you're hanging, it was like her first 6 months. I'm like, you're never going to talk to these people ever again. You're driving to fucking the CBS lot. Oh God. I was like, I've done it. It's terrible. Ryan, I love you. Where can everybody listen to you and find you and all that jazz?
It's called So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. And we do like 5 shows. We do a lot of content, you guys.
5 shows a week?
Yeah. We do a lot of, I do recaps, guests. It's like a hodgepodge of pop culture and Bravo, but there are timestamps. So pick and choose what you like. If there's a guest you like, we have a lot of Bravo celebrities on. We have people like, Liz, other podcasters. We have, I consider it a variety show, and they're long form. Like they'll be like sometimes 2 hours or plus in length. I'm doing a Salt Lake recap tonight. That'll probably be 2 hours. That's going to get released tomorrow. And, you kind of just, every day it's something new or something exciting. Yesterday's episode was, we had Demois on Monday, did a pop culture roundup with me. I had this new girl, X Knows All, a new podcaster who I love to talk to new podcasters. And we talked about all like the pop culture and White Lotus 2 finale and all that stuff. And, there's just a mix of everything that I like. And the problem is I like too many things. And I also hate so many things, but it's fun to talk about the stuff you hate too.
Ryan, I feel honored to speak to the straight cis.
It's the Bad Boy podcast. I call myself the Bad Boy podcast.
The Bravo expert here. And thank you for not, kind of answering why.
You know what? Wait, but Brian Moylan, by the way, the amazing writer from Vulture, and he wrote this great book on housewives. He sat next to me. He's like, why aren't you banging everybody that like?
I literally said that to you. Why not?
And he goes, why aren't you? And I go, what, dude? That's the last thing you want to do is get the reputation of some sort of like sleaze bag with it. And like, that's just, I would rather have my podcast than ever have any
sex.
No, I want no, you know what I'm saying? Like I care more about
like,
this.
what?
I care more about this than than anything that would ever get me in trouble with that,
Than like being Me Too, like being a Me Too culprit.
Not Me Too, but like at the same time, like I don't want to be you don't want to be the Pete Davidson of Bravo, like you don't want to be the Adam Duritz of Bravo. No, like listen, I don't have any, like I'm telling you, that's why we joke and call myself the bad boy of podcasting. I can't do that. That's not me. And I'd rather, this to me is, I'm Mr. Long-term relationship guy.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I see that for you.
Yeah, but sorry for everybody wondering. Nobody cares. That's what I'm saying. Everybody considers, okay, I'll talk to you on my show.
He'll never stop. Okay.
I know.
You're the best. I had to cut Ryan off. Ryan could keep going forever and a day, like I said, like literally for the rest of time. But I really loved that while I went into this episode clear that I wanted to discuss, why he loves Bravo and do people think he's gay? Like he answers all of that wonderfully. But I do love that we sort of connect and talk about why both of us have podcasts and how, coming from the acting world, we're broken and sad. But I adore Ryan. I think he's like he's one of the real ones. He's one of the honest ones. And I really walked away from talking to him feeling pretty lucky that we're cool and that we're friends. And you should listen to his show.